We recap them, we talk about it. Plus, this one's extra special because it's the last GOP presidential debate of 2015.
Yeah. Next time they debate, the pressure is going to so be on for Iowa. And you know, one of the things I thought last night, and I'd love to see what the chat room says about this, some of these guys have got to get off that stage. I am tired of them trying to spread it around to 8 or 9 or 10 or 12 people.
Do you think the next debate's going to have less people?
I would hope so. I would hope they would all do us a favor.
At least knock it down to 8?
Yeah.
You even want 6, I bet.
I would actually like to see the top 5. That's what I would like to see.
I guess the stage would look more like 1, 2, 3, 4.
I mean, I really think they would mix it up, number one. And
But
it's
then
practical.
Jeb won't even make the top 5, will he?
Isn't that something? I think he was number 5 in this debate. And I actually felt like he had his best debate.
That's what everyone's saying on the internet. The question is, will that actually help Jeb at all in the polls? Obviously, in case you are not aware how poorly Jeb Bush is doing, Donald Trump reminded everyone on stage last night, live, reminding everyone what the numbers were like. What were the numbers?
It was pretty hilarious. In fact, we have that clip, right?
We do. I'm pretty sure we do.
I mean, his comeback so often is... I remember one of these debates where practically the first words out of his mouth were, "Why is Rand Paul even up here? He's way down there at the end of the stage. He has no chance to win." So last night, his comeback to Bush was, "Look, pal, I'm at 42% and you're at 3%. Then I thought I heard, maybe it was the commentary afterwards, but on the radio, did I hear him say something like, pretty soon you're going to be all the way off the stage?
Yeah, he made some comment about, he's like, you started out over here, as in referencing the stage to somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
Now you're all the way over,
Yeah.
So that was the gist of what Donald Trump was saying.
And despite the fact that Bush had his best debate, so when we had some people over to the house last night, I was probably being annoying, but I was stopping it on TiVo to give my running commentary.
That's amazing.
Sort of a rehearsal for Ron and SK time.
I'll be honest, it would be so fun to watch a GOP presidential debate with you.
You know, actually, next time that happens, I should Periscope that.
Yeah.
So watch it, and then come over to me for some commentary, and then go back, because you can stop it on TiVo.
Right. You should do that.
I think we're on to something.
I think we are.
Yeah. Well, anyway,
Yes.
so one of my first responses was, the people who spoke about ISIS right out of the chute, Ted Cruz was very strong on that. And he said, we will defeat them. I will be the candidate that crushes them or defeats them. And he was strong. And I thought some of the others were maybe a little bit tone deaf to not take that argument to the big stage immediately. Now, Jeb Bush, the thing about his opening remarks were, maybe, I don't know if you felt this way, but I sure did.
I'm going to pull up some video while you continue speaking.
Was that you were pulling for him to get through everything he memorized in that 1 minute. Versus like a Rubio, who just seems to just know it all right off the top of his head, and Cruz too. So that's still the problem with Jeb, is that it seems still rehearsed and all the rest. So he did have a couple of zingers for Donald Trump, and I thought that was really interesting, actually. I mean, one of them, I don't know if you've got it, but he said something like, well, if I'm president, I'm not going to be like Donald Trump, where I get all my information off the shows. Then he looks at Trump and says, I don't know if that means the Saturday morning shows or the Sunday morning shows. And everybody laughed. I'm
just playing the walkout of everyone right now.
Yeah, right.
So we can see everyone's...
Oh, did you just take it right from the start? Do you have it right from the start?
The walkout?
SK? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to see it right from the start.
Oh, I'm going to start it from... Okay, let's go back.
Right.
Starts with Rand.
Starts with Rand, and then Chris Christie walks out, and I think he uses his girth to his advantage. Because what? He totally owns it. Look at that. I mean, the side shot right there is... I mean, he's big. He's a big guy. But it plays to his whole... And look how high his pants were. Did you see that? But it plays to, I'm a big, tough guy from New Jersey.
I mean, that's who he is.
I love that he owns his size. I love that about him. All right, so here's Ted Cruz. There's something, man, he was powerful last night in a lot of ways, but there's still something about his facial expressions that appear to me to be a little bit, I don't know, kind of like one of these sort of smiles, like, You know, that where you're like, are you really smiling, or is it a fake smile? I know I'm way too focused on all those kinds of things. Ben Carson, I'm afraid it's over for Ben, for big Ben.
I totally felt that way watching it yesterday as well. All the Ben Carson hype. Do you remember when Ben Carson was #1 in the polls?
Oh, sure.
It was just a
not
couple
that
weeks
long
ago.
You know, that was something else we were having the running commentary about last night. Here's Carly Fiorina. She was strong as ever, but she never gets a bump coming out of the debates. I don't get it. What caused Ben Carson to fall off the map? Was it he made some remark about the pyramids in Egypt that sounded like it was like really dumb? Like, I don't remember the specifics of it. Was it his book? Remember, Donald Trump came out afterwards and said he really ripped him about his book.
Right.
And Carson had written this book saying, I was a bad guy until I saw the light religiously, you know, and turned my life around. That was the point he was trying to make in the book. And Trump's like, I don't know who wants to vote for somebody who was on the verge of attacking his mother. And I think that actually played with a lot of moms, soccer moms, etc., who were watching. So, anyway, I do think that it probably was a smart idea on CNN's part to add, at the last minute, Rand Paul to the debate. Because he presents that libertarian viewpoint. He totally owns that space. Ted Cruz, to me, feels caught right now in between his libertarian leanings and wanting to be the tough guy on the war on terror, because Rubio was taking him on that, saying, you know, but you've been voting for these budgets that would strip the military or cut it further down in size.
Right.
And that actually probably seemed like a move that would gel with voters up until 1 month ago. Everything changed after Paris and San Bernardino.
Right. San Bernardino was, exactly 2 weeks ago today.
Yeah. Why do you think Carly Fiorina doesn't connect poll-wise? I mean, the very first debate, I don't know if you remember this one, but the very, very first debate, Carly Fiorina got more talk than almost anybody. And she was the undercard, and ever since then, she's been on the big stage, not in the JV debate. So, but she's never, you know, so that helped her get from 1% to 3%, but is it just that everybody else is too well committed to other candidates, do you think, for her to really make any headway?
Well, it's that. It's the fact that she doesn't actually have political experience.
Stop for one quick sec.
Yes.
Can you freeze it right? Go back go back 10 seconds. One more shot before that. Here we go. Ready, and not yet, and freeze it. SK.
Yes.
You, I think, are a good bellwether in terms of people who appears presidential.
Right.
There are people who feel that way.
That's how I vote, sadly.
Let me just say that I don't necessarily vote that way, but there are certain people, and I might get in a little bit of hot water with his supporters when I say what I'm about to say, but there are certain people that I say are so non-presidential that I just don't think I could vote for them.
Right.
Even if their words make sense.
The
way they stand, etc.
Their look, their presence.
And so the person I was thinking of specifically in that regard was on the undercard last night on the JV debate, and it was Lindsey Graham. Now, Lindsey Graham
has never really looked that presidential.
Yeah, but he was passionate last night. I mean, he said, Obama got us into this mess by pulling out too soon, and now ISIS is thriving. When he said George Bush, I don't blame George Bush, I blame Barack Obama, and then he said, I wish George Bush was still president, we wouldn't be in this mess that we're in.
I think I have that clip right now.
Oh, do you?
What I mean by he doesn't seem presidential, I was going strictly off of appearance and
I'm with
sort
you.
of stage presence. He can have all the passion he wants.
I'm with you.
But
okay, so
I just don't look at Lindsey Graham and see President of the United States.
And I'm with you on that. Now, I could see almost anyone. I'm trying to think if there's anyone. I think I could see any one of those guys and Carly Fiorina being president. But when Lindsey Graham speaks, you cannot sound like Fred Rogers in Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood and be the president. You can't.
Let's listen to Lindsey Graham.
Take it away,
I think
Lindsey.
It's time to listen to
It's
Lindsey
a good
Graham.
soundbite, but come on, he sounds like this. Okay, go ahead.
The surge worked. It worked. George W. Bush made mistakes, but he did adjust. I blame Obama for ISIL, not Bush. I'm tired of beating on Bush. I miss George W. Bush. I wish you were president right now. We wouldn't be in this mess. I'm tired of dictators walking all over us. I'm tired of siding with the Iranians and the Russians.
There's one problem.
If you spend any time in the region, you know that. Muslims have died by the thousands fighting this hateful ideology. You can say what you like, but when you utter the word, I will ban all Americans, all Muslims from coming to America, how do you think the King of Jordan must feel to hear that? He is our friend. He is our ally. This is not the way to make America safe. This is the way to help our enemies. Stop this before it's too late.
All right.
Okay.
Thoughts?
He probably, even on the undercard or the overcard, he probably was one of the 3 or 4 standouts of the night.
No, I've heard that. I've heard a lot of talk about Lindsey Graham, almost as if this is Lindsey Graham's moment, similar to the Carly Fiorina moment that really made her stand out when she was in the undercard debate.
Yes, right. Yeah, and would it be enough to get him on the big stage? Who knows? I don't think so, and I think it is more the overall package,
right,
than anything he's saying. He was passionate last night, and it was pretty impressive actually listening to him. But again, he just there are other times, you know, maybe when he's that passionate and he's almost like yelling into the microphone, he seems more like a leader.
Right. I'm not saying that Lindsey Graham can't be a politician. He is a politician.
Sure. He's
a senator. I think that he could hold another influential office. I just don't see him as president of the United States. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
He could even be vice president, probably.
Yeah. D. Just Rockin' says Carson is over. Cruz will take Carson's votes, in my opinion. And it does appear to be exactly what's happening in Iowa.
But we have other people commenting on Cruz. Selig Girl saying, Cruz looked like Trump's puppy last night.
Yes, he did,
Rural
actually.
Britannia is saying, I almost felt sorry for Cruz last night. One of the things people have been talking about, though, is how buddy Cruz and Trump appeared.
Oh, come on. It was a full-on bromance. It was weird.
Is it just because Cruz wants to be his VP?
Yes, I actually think so.
I think it has to be that. That's the only logic, right?
When I was done watching some of the highlights, I just said to myself, clearly that's what he wants. I mean, the one at the very end, I know you have lots of clips, but the one at the very end, maybe this is it, where Donald pats him on the back like a lost puppy dog and says, he's just fine. And he just stands there, Cruz just stands there like, thank you.
We can watch this clip right now.
Yeah. I mean, what he should have said to appear at least as presidential as Donald Trump is, Donald, I don't need a pat on the back. I appreciate it, but I am going to lead and win this fight. He needed to say something, but watch the way he handles it. He won't even say anything. It's quite hilarious, actually.
Let's watch it from the top of the clip.
Just this weekend, you said Senator Cruz is not qualified to be president because he doesn't have the right temperament and acted like a maniac when he arrived in the Senate. But last month, you said you were open to naming Senator Cruz as your running mate.
I did.
So why would you be willing to put somebody who's a maniac one heartbeat away from the presidency?
But I've gotten to know him over the last 3 or 4 days. He has a wonderful temperament. He's just fine. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Senator Cruz, you have not been willing to attack Mr. Trump in public, but you did question his judgment in having control of America's nuclear arsenal during a private meeting with supporters. Why are you willing to say things about him in private and not in public?
Dana, what I said in private is exactly what I'll say here, which is that the judgment that every voter is making of every one of us up here is who has the experience, who has the vision, who has the judgment to be commander-in-chief. That is the most important decision for the voters to make. That's a standard I'm held to, and it's a standard everyone else is held to. And I will note,
a lot of people have seen these comments you made in private. I just want to clarify. What you're saying right now is you do believe Mr. Trump has the judgment to be commander-in-chief.
What I'm saying, Dana, is that is a judgment for every voter to make. But what I can tell you is all 9 of the people here would make an infinitely better commander-in-chief than Barack Obama or Hillary Clinton.
That is absolutely the correct way to answer it. And he's pretty darn good about dancing around the actual question and turning it into a sort of a non-answer that plays really well to the crowd.
Right.
So you said he doesn't have the judgment to be president privately. Why won't you say it in public? So he said, well, what I will tell you is any of us would still be better than Barack Obama or Hillary Clinton. Well, you know that.
Well, Barack Obama isn't even an option. He's already been the president for 2 terms. That's all I'm saying. It's like, oh, they're going to be better than Barack Obama. Okay, you can't even really say they're going to be better than Barack Obama only because
It's after
Barack
the fact.
is not going to be the leader of the United States come January 2017, regardless of whether a Democrat or Republican
Isn't it weird?
wins.
Isn't it weird to think that if Hillary Clinton were to lose, and I still think she's the odds-on favorite to be the next president, but if she were to lose, it would be because people don't believe that the Obama-Clinton foreign policy of the last several years, I know she's not in office now, but she helped shape that foreign policy for many years while Iraq was falling apart and while ISIS was, in its formative stages. Wouldn't it be weird to think that somebody who developed all this experience as Secretary of State, that could potentially come back to haunt her and might be the thing that would cost her the presidency? I don't know. I still don't think it's going to happen. I still think even after last night, she's the odds-on favorite to win the presidency. But
even to add to that, we thought that the email situation was going to hurt her.
Yes.
And for a little while, it kind of hurt her in the press. But is anyone even talking about that now?
not at all.
Not
Bernie
that much.
Sanders, thank you, Bernie. Bernie gave her that little love pat in a debate about 2 debates ago, and it has faded away since then. And I don't know. I'm just skeptical enough to think that there's just no possible way, as ingrained as she is into the Washington scene and everything else, and it currently is a Democratic administration. I just don't think there's any possible way that criminal charges are headed her way on this. Even though you could sure make the argument that they ought to be, I don't possibly see it. So it's weird because it used to be that was the automatic stepping stone to the presidency. For years and years and years in the early days of this country, if you wanted to be president, you had to first be Secretary of State. So will the email thing catch up with her? Will Benghazi catch up with her? Will the fact that people are now waking up to the real threat posed by ISIS, and why aren't we, quote unquote, to quote a CNN reporter, taking on or taking out these bastards? People are feeling that way.
Ron didn't say it. He's quoting someone, so it's totally okay to say it.
Yeah, I know, because I put it in quotation marks. That's not my usual
I want to
lingo.
play a few more clips from the debate. Since we
right,
were
let's
on
go.
the topic of Trump, one of the moments of the night had to be Trump versus Bush.
All right.
So I'm going to pull up
this is so good.
This clip right here.
This is the best back and forth of the entire night.
There's
and who thought Jeb Bush had it in him?
I have 2 that are labeled Trump versus Bush, so we'll just play both. Let's start with this one. All right.
If we're going to ban all Muslims, how are we going to get them to be part of a coalition to destroy ISIS? The Kurds are the greatest fighting force and our strongest allies. They're Muslim. Look, this is not a serious proposal. In fact, it will push the Muslim world, the Arab world, away from us at a time when we need to re-engage with them to be able to create a strategy to destroy ISIS. So Donald, is great at the one-liners, but he's a chaos candidate, and he'd be a chaos president. He would not be the commander-in-chief we need to keep our country safe.
Mr. Trump.
Chaos candidate, good line.
Jeb doesn't really believe I'm unhinged. He said that very simply because he has failed in this campaign. It's been a total disaster. Nobody cares. And frankly, I'm the most solid person up here. I built a tremendous company, and all I want to do is make America great again. I don't want our country to be taken away from us, and that's what's happening. The policies that we've suffered under other presidents have been a disaster for our country. We want to make America great again. And Jeb, in all fairness, he doesn't believe that.
Look, he mentioned me. I can talk. This is the problem. Banning all Muslims will make it harder for us to do exactly what we need to do, which is to destroy ISIS. We need a strategy. We need to get the lawyers off the back of the warfighters. Right now, under President Obama, we've created this standard that is so high that it's impossible to be successful in fighting ISIS. We need to engage with the Arab world to make this happen. It is not a serious proposal to say that to the people that you're asking for their support, that they can't even come to the country to even engage in a dialogue with us. That's not a serious proposal. We need a serious leader to deal with this.
Okay, so there's the first of the two clips.
So one of the things I want to point out, and this is something that I noticed last night as well, how many times does Trump default to the phrase, I want to make America great again, or make America great again? In that response to Jeb, in just a 30-second period, he used the phrase twice. Now, I didn't watch from beginning to end to count the number of times, but I'm very interested in that answer.
Well, people would argue that his not strong point is that he doesn't have a lot of details.
His weak point.
Correct. In other words, I guess his strong point is that he appears to be a leader generically.
He's very confident, and he has that stage presence, and he makes you want to watch.
And again, I've said it many times, the reason Trump's doing so well, I think, in large part, is because we don't live in a vacuum. And there are a lot of people who feel like we're not seeing a lot of leadership. I mean, Fox News had a poll last night, SK, that you would find really interesting on the Bret Baier show, where the question was, after President Obama leaves office, do we need a similar strategy or an entirely new strategy?
Interesting.
For fighting ISIS?
And?
It wasn't even close. Way over 70% said, no, we can't keep going down that road. We got to do something different. And, there was also a poll this week that said in however long it was since the prior poll, I'm sorry, I don't know, I presume it was a couple of weeks, since San Bernardino anyway, the percentage of Americans who actually admit that ground troops will probably have to be used to win the war against ISIS went up 11 percentage points after San Bernardino, up to above 40%. And if that number, in a country that is tired of war because of Iraq and because of Afghanistan, if that number gets up to 50% or more, it'll just be interesting to see how in Washington people respond to it. So far, Obama seems 100% opposed to it. I heard some interesting speculation from one commentator yesterday who said it would not behoove Hillary Clinton, who wants to appear to be more centrist and more capable of winning a war against ISIS. It would still not behoove her to say anything about that until she gets through the primaries. Because Bernie Sanders is already portraying himself as the anti-war candidate, right? And the more to the left of Hillary Clinton. And if she were to say, let's face it, folks, the only way to actually win this war, we have to admit it, is that you're going to have actually have some ground troops. You just can't bomb them out of existence. If she were to say that now, that would just kill her in the primaries. Now, she's going to win the primaries. So she just has to be cautious enough now. But I would not be shocked if we get into the general election season after the conventions, if she says something to that nature, if that's the way things are trending.
I also want to note, going back to Trump's strengths or Trump's appeal, in addition to just his confidence and stage presence and all of that and appearing to be a leader, I think the other appealing thing for a lot of voters is the fact that he doesn't take anyone else's money. It's self-funded, so he's not speaking on behalf of those people who have donated to him.
Yeah.
Like, he's not influenced by outside parties in that regard, which I think is unique only to him.
Oh, it absolutely is. I mean, even Mitt Romney had to do a bunch of fundraisers, and he's pretty wealthy. But Donald Trump put it in perspective when he said, I got a Gucci store, dude, that's more valuable than Mitt Romney. It's worth more than Mitt Romney. I mean, let's face it, Donald Trump has come up with some great lines, whether he wins or not.
Very wealthy. And speaking of Mitt Romney, I just want to point out that, unfortunately, because of my sickness, I was unable to attend the John McCain Mitt Romney event.
Oh, yeah, that was this past weekend.
Yeah,
I did not see a lot of coverage on that.
I really wanted to go to see that presidential hair in person.
Mitt Romney.
any
can we go back to my
presidential
question?
hair.
Let's go back to my original question, which is looking at all of them on the stage. To you, and I pose this question to you because I think you're not the only person who part of the voting process is who has the whole package going on, who has the look of being the president.
Move us off the screen. I mean, this is a very distant
this
shot.
is a wider shot. We had that earlier. Image.
Was that the one where all of them were walking out on stage at the very end? I could probably
no, at the very beginning. Right before they went to their podiums. It was that first one that you...
Right. I do have that clip. I'm going to look for it again. I have so many clips, it's hard to find it. Right here.
A moment for the...
Okay. There we go. Oh, it was back a little ways.
This is the final Republican debate before the election year.
It was right about 1:30.
For President of the United States.
And clip. Okay.
All right.
Now, if you ask me, just looking at him right there, Jeb Bush looks pretty presidential. He's the tallest guy. He's got that George W. Bush kind of take me on.
Well, I mean, they're
sort
brothers.
Of pose. I know it's sort of generic. It must genetically come to them. Is there anybody there who is like not looking presidential to you?
You mean the way they stand? If we're going strictly based off posture, I will say that at least in this freeze frame, John Kasich doesn't look that powerful.
His posture is so bad it actually bothers me. You look at it right there, you know who it reminds me of? I hate to say, because I shouldn't even compare him, but it looks like the way Richard Nixon used to stand.
Let's see.
Trump's got it going on.
Yeah.
I'm not crazy about the way Rubio and Carson are standing.
Because of the way their hands are in front of them as if they appear weak?
As they appear, you know, and Rand Paul's got that too.
It's this right here. It's like they're reserved.
Right.
Less
it's
confident.
Like, you know, okay, I'm the schoolboy waiting for my chance.
Like this. I mean, it really does affect public perception.
I think so too.
And I feel like they should be dealing with body language experts prior to going on stage.
Yeah.
I mean, even something so little as your hands.
Yeah. And once again.
And where they're placed.
Once again, Rubio, the number one thing that hurts him is he has such a youthful look. And did you notice that Ted Cruz last night said, every time he referred to Senator Rubio, he called him Marco. Marco this, Marco that, like he's your college buddy.
Like he wasn't giving him the respect of being a fellow senator.
There was something about just calling him Marco over and over again that didn't make him appear to be presidential. Now, let me also say that I love Chris Christie. Look at that. Not only, like I said earlier, is he owning his girth, but look at those pants. Look at those pant legs, SK.
Right here. Yeah.
Look at that.
They're a little too short.
They're way too short.
You can see the, oh my gosh, I didn't even notice that.
They're at least 4 inches too short, and he's just totally owning it. He's like, here I am, like me or not.
Ron Hoon, fashion expert.
I'm just saying. We're just having a little bit of fun with it.
No, I know, but yeah, looking at the way their suits are tailored, I mean, every little thing can affect your perception of an individual.
Yeah.
And then, interestingly enough, most of the candidates decide to go with the red tie. A couple of them opt for blue. You see Kasich in the light blue, and Ben Carson in a dark blue.
I don't think they just grab one off the rack. Everybody's thinking, you know, and Kasich is sort of the go-between guy. His whole argument to elect him is that I work in a state as a Republican governor with a lot of Democrats, and I'm able to get things done. So I think that that's a subliminal thing that I can appeal to people from across the aisle. You know, the blue party, not the red party, and everybody else pretty much is owning the red. And Carson goes with the sort of executive look. Yeah. So, let's see, some other thoughts.
Should we play other clips?
And then we can play some clips. I would love to get people's reaction to what Donald Trump said last night, which is, he was talking about regime change, and Rand Paul was beating that drum too. And Donald Trump said,
oh, I remember this
we
part.
spent $4 billion, and he's very good at actually distilling thoughts down to where people can like gravitate to what he's meaning. We spent $4 billion, and what do we have to show for it? Afghanistan is still somewhat stable, primarily I think because we're still there. Iraq is a complete mess. Libya is now an ISIS stronghold. You know, So I'm just curious to get people's opinion if they think that $4 billion spent for regime change, that Trump was right about that.
Was that the same clip or the same moment where he said that money should have been spent right here in the United States
Yes,
on the roads and things like this? And then Fiorina chimed in saying, "Oh, isn't that what Obama's been saying all along?"
Yeah. Yeah, you're remembering it exactly right.
I remember that moment. That was a standout
clip.
moment.
But I am curious to see if people agree with him on that, because it's quite an argument. Is the world better off to have Gaddafi out in Libya and have ISIS using it now as one of their strongholds? I mean, is the fact that ISIS controls so much land inside Iraq, are we better off there? And what about Syria? If we're for regime change, or we are going to work to depose Assad, which Obama said many, many times Assad's got to go, then are we prepared for the consequences if ISIS, who would currently appear to be the strongest, second to the Assad military, if ISIS takes over that whole country? Because do we want to do regime change there as well?
I do have one clip. I don't know if it's this clip. It might be an unrelated clip. I don't think it's the clip we're talking about. We have Trump talking about ISIS families. We have Trump talking about running as a Republican and internet surveillance and his ban on Muslims. Which one? Which Trump clip are we going to watch?
I say the first one.
ISIS families?
Yeah, because that got a lot of people talking.
All right, let's watch.
We have to be much tougher. We have to be much stronger than we've been. We have people that know what's going on. You take a look at just the attack in California the other day. There were numerous people, including the mother, that knew what was going on. They saw pipe bombs sitting all over the floor. They saw ammunition all over the place. They knew exactly what was going on. When you had the World Trade Center go, people were put into planes that were friends, family, girlfriends, and they were put into planes and they were sent back, for the most part, to Saudi Arabia. They knew what was going on. They went home and they wanted to watch their boyfriends on television. I would be very, very firm with families. And frankly, that will make people think, because they may not care much about their lives, but they do care, believe it or not, about their families' lives.
Donald, this is
Governor Bush.
This is another example of the lack of seriousness. Look, this is troubling because we're at war. They've declared war on us, and we need to have a serious strategy to destroy ISIS. But the idea that that is a solution to this is just crazy. It makes no sense to suggest this. Look, 2 months ago, Donald Trump said that ISIS was not our fight. Just 2 months ago. He said that Hillary Clinton would be a great negotiator with Iran. And he gets his foreign policy experience from the shows.
Come on,
that is not a serious kind of candidate. We need someone that thinks this through, that can lead our country to safety and security.
Mr. Trump.
Look, the problem is we need toughness. Honestly, I think Jeb is a very nice person. He's a very nice person, but we need tough people. We need toughness. We need intelligence, and we need tough. Jeb said when they come across the southern border, they come as an act of love.
You said in September 30th that ISIS was not a
Am I talking or are you talking, Jeb?
I'm talking right now. I'm talking.
You can go back. You're not talking. You interrupted me,
September 30th,
Are you going to apologize, Jeb? No. Am I allowed to finish?
Yes, one at a time.
Excuse
Go ahead,
me. Am I allowed to finish?
Go ahead, Mr. Trump.
So,
little of your
again,
own medicine there.
I know you're trying to build
Bush,
up your energy,
please.
Jeb, but it's not working
one at a time.
Well. Look. We need a toughness. We need strength. We're not respected as a nation anymore. We don't have that level of respect that we need. And if we don't get it back fast, we're just going to go weaker, and just disintegrate. We can't allow that to happen. We need strength. We don't have it. When Jeb comes out and he talks about the border, and I saw it, and I was witness to it, and so was everyone else, and I was standing there, they come across as an act of love. He's saying the same thing right now with radical Islam. And we can't have that in our country. It just won't work. We need strength.
Governor Bush.
Donald, you're not going to be able to insult your way to the presidency. That's not going to happen. And I do have...
won't.
I think that if people in the previews, no one predicted it was going to be a Jeb Bush-Donald Trump showdown last night. And that is the number one takeaway, I think, from those two candidates, is they took each other on, and Jeb Bush, as a result, actually became a debater instead of a memorized speech giver, and had his best night. But I don't think I think it might take him from 3% to 6%. You know, I don't think he comes close to Trump's numbers. Ooh, look who else we have to talk about.
I know, I see that.
Yeah. Okay, I got to run to my meeting. I feel bad for you because I can see you're still not completely well.
Let's go live.
Let's do it. Hillary Clinton, everybody. And by the way, she was just introduced by the second wealthiest man in America, Warren Buffett.